In 1973, the American League introduced the rule change regarding a designated hitter. This is where a designated batter hit in replacement of the pitcher having to bat. However, this rule was only adopted by the American League and not the National League. The need for this rule to be updated has long been in debate by the sports world, and there are many varying viewpoints on the issue. The four main argumentative stances regarding the designated hitter rule are as follows: to have the National League adopt the designated hitter, to have the American League abandon the designated hitter, to keep the rule as is, or to have it only 8 batters in the lineup and not have a pitcher or a designated hitter bat. I personally believe that the third argumentative stance, the keeping the rule as is the best option for how the designated hitter rule should be enforced in Major League Baseball. The reason that I believe this is the best option is because there are plenty of stakeholders involved where any rule change would be detrimental to the parties that are involved. From the American League standpoint, these teams sign free agents solely to be designated hitters. Many teams have full-time designated hitters, and if there was a rule change, a lot of these players would either be released by the teams or forced to play a position they are not good at. From the National League standpoint, lineups and game plans are specifically crafted to incorporate the pitcher's batting. Whether it's a sacrifice bunt or a pinch hitter, the pitcher spot in the lineup is always an interesting scenario to see what the manager has planned. Too many teams, players, and other stakeholders are involved that would allow for any rule change to happen. Either the American League or the National League would be upset based on a rule change, and the best solution is the middle ground where only half the league has it and half the league doesn't.
Conroy, I wonder if there's something with his back. Pops it up, everything's fine here. He starts to run and then trips a bit and then it's almost like Achilles. Boy.
The controversy regarding the rule change is based on the larger issue of player safety. For example, Adam Wainwright of the St. Louis Cardinals blew out his Achilles tendon leaving the batter's box back in 2015, causing controversy about the rule to surface again. Pitchers only bat once every 5 starts in the National League, and American League pitchers only do it in interleague play and in the World Series. Pitchers are more prone to batting injuries because they are less accustomed to hitting when required to do so. Injuries are not uncommon while batting, and teams such as the Dodgers, who have spent $33.8 million on Clayton Kershaw, or the Red Sox, who have spent $30.7 million on David Price, do not want to risk these big investment players' pitching careers just for an at-bat. The common themes that relate to the designated hitter rule include fans versus athletes, athletes as tribal warriors, and contradictions. Regarding fans versus athletes, some fans claim they know what is better for the athletes than the athletes who play the game themselves. Some fans think that pitchers should not be allowed to hit, but actually some pitchers enjoy hitting, such as Giants ace Madison Bumgarner, who's notorious for hitting home runs and even vouched for himself to be in the home run derby. Regarding athletes as tribal warriors, this theme relates to the idea that it doesn't matter if athletes get injured because they are tribal warriors battling and are willing to get hurt and sacrifice themselves for the better of the team. Finally, the last theme of contradiction is extremely prevalent in this argument. The current rule that half the league has the DH and the other half doesn't is a contradiction in of itself. We also see the contradictions when someone who argues against a designated hitter then proceeds to watch highlights of pitchers smashing home runs instead of sticking to their own beliefs.
That ball is hit high and deep to left field. Adios! A grand slam!
Both the American League and the National League had their strengths and weaknesses, but for good reason. The American League with the designated hitter scores more runs than the National League. 7 out of the top 10 run-scoring teams are American League clubs. In contrast, 8 of the top 10 teams have the lowest earned run average are National League teams. Many find the American League with the designated hitter and more runs scored per game more exciting baseball. However, some enjoy a 2-to-1 pitcher's duel primarily found in National League games. By having half the league have the designated hitter and the other half not have the designated hitter allows for both types of baseball fans to be able to see the types of game they most enjoy. Many of the opposing viewpoints are based on these themes and larger issues. Opposing viewpoints of having the entire league adopt the designated hitter leaves out both the original way the game is played and the strategical managerial planning that is involved with the pitcher batting. The opposing viewpoint of having the league abandon the designated hitter completely leaves pitchers prone to injury, and pitchers who are generally not good at batting forced to take humorous swings at pitchers that are not even in the strike zone. Having an 8-man batting order only further eliminates the team play of the game. By only having the pitchers pitch instead of batting to, or having the DH bat for them, it can be a big money loss for athletes who partake only in this role, such as Red Sox All-Star David Ortiz, who is known for his DH ability, but not so much his fielding skills.
Ortiz into deep right field. Back is Sheffield. We'll see you later tonight.
In conclusion, keeping the rule as is the best option and is proved as a unified common ground for the designated hitter rule. It allows for pitchers to still bat for those who like the old-fashioned style of play. It allows there to be a designated hitter for those who like seeing batters who are better at hitting than pitchers are, and to protect the pitchers from injury. The rule has stood for 40-plus years, and the implementation of having half the league have the designated hitter and the other half not have the designated hitter serves as an equilibrium, where all sides are not completely satisfied, but all stakeholders involved still get a little bit of what they want.
Let's